My name is Marigold Fritz, and I'm going to talk about the Church of Saint Pantaleon. The Church of Saint Pantaleon is one of the oldest of the 12 Romanesque churches in Cologne, Germany. Before Christianity arrived, a Roman villa stood on this site. Around 870 AD, a church was built over the ruins of the Roman villa in honor of the Greek martyr Saint Pantaleon. In 957 AD, Archbishop Bruno of Cologne, brother of Emperor Otto the Great, founded a Benedictine abbey next to the church of Saint Pantaleon. The archbishop was buried in the existing church in 965 AD. A year later, construction began on a replacement church to go with the new abbey. This church had a single nave with flat roof, small east apse, Carolingian-style vestwork, and square transepts. It was consecrated by Archbishop Warren of Cologne on October 24, 980 AD. Empress Stefano, the wife of Otto II, expanded the new church by adding a much larger vestibule at the west end and an apse with crypt at the east end. The west front was decorated by sculptures of the enthroned Christ, Saints Albanus and Pantaleon and angels, which have not survived. The renovations were complete in 996 AD. St. Pantaleon's Church was further renovated around 1150 to 1160 AD, with the addition of the side aisles and decorative flooring. In 1620 to 1622, the east apse and nave vaults were renovated. In 1890 to 1892 AD, the Westbach was reconstructed. The church was damaged during World War II and repair took several decades. The nave had no ceiling until 1962. The exterior of St. Pantaleon is thoroughly Romanesque, with a large vestibule, two round west towers, decorative red stripes Lombard bands, and round-headed windows. There is a corbel table along the nave exterior, but none of the corbels are carved. Entrance is through the south door, which has a round arch, but no decoration. The interior consists of a central nave, side aisles, a vestibule with two chapels, two square transepts, and an east apse with crypt. The nave has a flat roof decorated with squares of modern marble. The interior consists of a central nave, side aisles, a vestibule with two chapels, two square transepts, and an east apse with crypt. The nave has a flat roof decorated with squares of modern murals. The north chapel in the vestibule shelters the tomb of Empress Theophano, made of great marble. The Empress sponsored the extension of St. Pantaleon Church and requested to be buried here. The south chapel centers on a small painted Pietà sculptures and a ring of candles. The south transept is home to the St. Pantaleon altar, topped with a fine painted altarpiece. Mounted on the wall are sections of medieval murals of Christ in the scene of the life of the Virgin Mary. From left they depict the Annunciation, the Nativity, the Adoration of the Magi, and the Death of the Virgin. Also in the south transept are the two effigies of knights, a plain Lombard band, and beautifully carved acanthus leaf capitals in the corners. The front of the nave is dominated by a sumptuous late Gothic choir screen decorated with an array of paintings and sculptures. This is flanked by two bejeweled shrines to the church's patron saints, Albanus on the right and Pantaleon on the left. The east apse, which is enclosed by an iron gate, is normally inaccessible, contains a large altar, and St. Pantaleon Church is still standing today.
Hi, my name is Ila Finau, and I will be talking about canopic jars. Canopic jars are container jars that were used during the rituals of the mummification process. Before mummifying the dead, ancient Egyptians removed the organs of the deceased and placed them into these canopic jars that were then buried with them to symbolically protect the organs. The intestines were cleansed and washed in palm wine, and, after being covered with powdered aromatic gums, were placed in canopic jars. The lids of the jars are shaped as the heads of one of the funerary gods known as the four sons of Horus. It was the job of these four deities to protect the internal organs of the deceased. The ancient Egyptians firmly believed that the deceased required his or her organs in order to be reborn in the afterlife. For use in the afterlife, they would be bandaged and vital organs placed individually in canopic jars. The jars were made of several materials such as limestone, calcite, or alabaster. The finishing touch would be the stoppers, being shaped like human heads, later as jackal, baboon, and falcon heads. These jars were usually grouped in fours and placed alongside the sarcophagi and were supposedly guarded by the sons of Horus. The baboon-headed Hapi guarded the lungs, the human-headed Imseti was the guardian of the liver, jackal-headed Duamutef guarded the stomach and upper intestines, and falcon-headed Kabesenu guarded the lower intestines. Canopic jars of the Old Kingdom, about 2686 to 2181 BC, are almost never inscribed and have a plain lid. In the Middle Kingdom, about 2025 to 1700 BC, canopic jars are often inscribed and the lids are often human-headed. In the 19th dynasty and later, each of the four lids take a form of different head: falcon, human, jackal, and baboon, denoting the four children of Horus.